The thought of someone killing another human being is often hard to comprehend, especially when there seems to be no motive behind the act. But the thought of someone killing another human being and getting away with it is even harder to comprehend. And unfortunately, there are thousands of unsolved cases like this. Take the infamous ones like Jack the Ripper, the Zodiac Killer, and possibly even the killer behind the mysterious death of Elisa Lam. There is an endless list, but I have found 5 that are especially mysterious that we can hopefully all come up with some theories for. So from a couple whose heads were found in the vegetable box in their fridge, to a lady who is thought to have been murdered by an evil spirit, whose house phone silently rang the police days after she had been dead. Here are a selection of some of the most mysterious unsolved murders in history. Don Henry and Kevin Ives. Let's go back to the night of August 22nd, 1987, when best friends Don Henry and Kevin Ives headed out to a secluded area of Saline County, Arkansas, for a night of deer hunting to which they never returned alive, causing many cover-ups that still haunt the town to this day. In the early hours of August 23rd, 1987, a northbound Union Pacific driver saw 2 boys lying parallel to each other on the tracks, partially covered by a green tarp. The driver desperately tried to stop the train but was unable to and ran over the bodies. The initial investigation ruled their deaths were accidental, with the medical examiner stating they had passed out on the tracks whilst under the influence of marijuana. The boys' families strongly disagreed with this and were convinced foul play was involved. They finally got the case reopened and the boys' bodies were exhumed and re-examined. The findings reinforced the family's belief when it was discovered Don had been stabbed several times, and Kevin had injuries consistent with being beaten with a rifle butt. It was clear the boys were already dead when the train ran over them, and had not passed out on the tracks like first suggested. Speculation about the deaths was major talk in the area, with many believing the boys were in the wrong place at the wrong time, as the area is close to Mena Airport, which had a long association with cocaine smuggling and drug drops. It was rumoured that many high-ranking officials and politicians could have been profiting from this activity, so if the boys had witnessed something they shouldn't have, they would need to have been silenced. But the thought this was a murder cover-up doesn't end here. Evidence mysteriously went missing, the green tarp that covered the bodies on the track is lost, and despite the inaccuracies of the original medical examiner, he has never been questioned about his findings, as Bill Clinton, who was the governor of Arkansas, deemed it unnecessary. For the family, despite the grand jury revising the original cause of death and changing it to probable homicide, there are still many unanswered questions about this case and the connections to the Mena drug smuggling. The boys' families believe, as long as those involved remain in authority, the case will never be solved. Olivia Mabel. The mysterious case of Olivia Mabel has had a lot of speculation. Some say it's fake, and others believe it's entirely non-fictional. I will lay down the story and let me know what you think. Olivia Mabel lived in the quiet town of Salina, Texas. She was a stay-at-home mum who lived with her son Aidan and husband Travis on their 12-acre ranch. But in 1990, her life was shattered when 7-year-old Aidan was found dead in a small pond in the grounds of the property. Olivia struggled to come to terms with his death and was filled with grief, blaming herself for the tragedy. She began to withdraw from everyday life, shunning friends and family and even her husband. Eventually he left and their marriage ended in 1991, with Travis moving to New England. Towards the end of 1991, Olivia had lost touch with Travis and other members of the family, and it's thought the last sighting of her was in September of that year. Then at around 9:30 p.m. on February the 27th, 1994, 3 years after last being seen, police received several silent 911 calls that were traced to Olivia's house. When they arrived and entered the property, they found the once pristine home neglected and in despair. Aidan's room, however, was immaculate, and it was in this room that Olivia's decomposing body was found. She was sitting in a rocking chair holding an eerie stick doll, apparently dressed in bits of her dead son's clothing. The room had crudely constructed altar on the wall that was surrounded by drawings and heartbreaking letters to a lost child. In front of the altar were the words construct in Tibetan and Sanskrit. The scene was likened to a Tibetan Buddhist ceremony used to create a tulpa, a thought process that is thought to create physical manifestations. After a thorough investigation, the police finally closed the case with an unsolved outcome, but rumours from the locals started coming out. The symbols and drawings found in the room have led many to believe Olivia was dabbling in the occult in an effort to contact her dead son, and she was attracting evil. Some believe her unexplained death could have something to do with this. Even the first officers on the scene believe Olivia wasn't alone the night of her death and that there was a powerful presence lingering in the room. But even stranger is the fact that one of the letters she had written was dated the day police received the silent calls, to which we have no idea who made those, despite the inquest stating her body had been there for some time. So was her death down to some sinister entity lurking in the house? Was it a case of a mother dying of a broken heart due to the death of her son? Or did any of this happen at all? What do you think? Alan Geel. Alan Geel's name is known by many, as his case has been well documented, but hopefully, as always, I can bring some fresh information to this very bizarre unsolved death. 64-year-old Alec Aaron Geel lived in Cornwall, England, and when he was found on Perranporth Beach, not far from his home, on February the 25th, 2014, his story became one of the most unusual unsolved cases the UK has ever seen. What makes his case so strange is the circumstances in which he was found and the complete lack of evidence as to what happened to him. Alan was found naked apart from a pair of socks and one trainer, but for some reason he also had a sock and a set of Apple headphones in his mouth. At first it was thought to be a possible suicide attempt, but police could not figure out why he was naked, and a post-mortem examination revealed multiple unexplained external and internal injuries, and no evidence of death by drowning or asphyxiation, leaving suicide an unlikely cause of Alan's death. To add more mystery to the story, after searching the beach where he was found, police found a jacket, a wallet with £95 cash in it, and a photograph of Alan at 2 years old. It was also found out that Alan had recently purchased ankle weights and a weighted vest that have never been recovered. Then we have some CCTV video of what would have been the last hours of Alan's life, and what cannot be explained is that the jacket and clothing he is wearing in the footage have never been recovered, and his bank cards that he can be seen using in one of the videos are also missing but have not been used. He can also be seen at a bus stop talking to some people who haven't come forward to give information, and looks to be aimlessly wandering around after getting off the bus a few miles away from his home, which is where he was found dead. It's eerie seeing him walk around just hours before he was found on the beach, but looking at the footage there is not much to go by, and the nature of his death is a complete mystery. After his family came forward and officially identified him, they admitted that they did not know how he spent his time, as he lived a relatively solitary life. This led to the speculation that he may have arranged to meet someone, although there is no evidence of this. Police haven't ruled out suicide or any other activity that may have gone wrong, but the pieces just don't add up. Why wasn't his clothes found? Why did he order ankle weights and a weighted vest just before the incident? If it was foul play, then why was there still cash in his wallet? And if it was suicide, then how did he commit suicide and leave so much mystery behind? A detective who was assigned to the case said they cannot rule out a crime, but haven't found anything to explain what happened to Alan. For now, his mysterious death will continue to be unsolved, and will probably remain that way forever. I'd love to hear your theories on this one in the comments. Kayelyn Louder. 30-year-old Kayelyn Louder from Utah was a well-educated and much-loved woman. So when she disappeared on September the 27th, 2014, her friends and family were shocked as it was so out of character. And despite there being lots of evidence and even CCTV footage, police are no closer to solving this case. Let's go back to the day before she went missing, when Kayelyn made a series of 911 calls. In the first one, she reports a fight at a wedding and also reports an intruder in her apartment. When police responded, they found no evidence of an intruder or a fight and dismissed the incident. Just an hour later, she phoned the police again and hung up. When they rang her back, she sounded extremely out of character. Then the next morning, she phoned the police again and was saying someone was in her apartment, despite her roommate in the background telling her that no one is breaking in. This phone call was released to the public by police, so take a listen.
Please hurry.
Are you at the location now?
Yes, I am.
Were weapons involved or mentioned?
They're not talking or responding. I'm just telling them to leave so I can hear them taking things. Don't do that, sir. If the door's still locked, it's impossible. They must have a key or something. Why is the door still locked? Well, I can't explain that, but I heard like two people talking.
After this, she kept in contact with a few family members and nothing seemed unusual. But later that evening, Kayelyn is seen on surveillance video at her apartment. She is barefoot, walking in the rain with her dog, and this is the last anyone's seen of her. She disappeared without taking her dog, phone, keys, or car. Take a look at the footage. The police claim she is displaying delusional behaviour and is talking to herself on the footage, but her family are convinced she was just scared of something. What's strange is she had no history of mental illness, and despite having trouble finding a job at this time, she was positive and upbeat. Her mother said the footage is strange, but denies she had any mental illnesses. Others disagree, pointing to an underlying condition of paranoid schizophrenia, which would explain the strange 911 calls and the thought that someone was in her apartment. So what happened to her? After a huge 9-week search, Kaylyn's body was found in the Jordan River, about 5 miles away from her condo, under a bridge submerged in 3 feet of water. The cause of death could not be determined, although the coroner was able to confirm that no drugs were found in her body. Police have stated they do not suspect foul play, but her family strongly disagree and believe she was murdered. They cannot see how she could end up 5 miles away without being seen by anyone or being caught on a second CCTV during her trip there. To date, Kaylyn's initial disappearance, strange behaviour, and death is a mystery, and her family are determined to find the truth. What's your theories? The Icebox murders. Fred and Edwina Rogers lived in Montrose, Houston with their son Charles. The couple were described as reclusive and had a strange relationship with their 43-year-old son, as it's claimed they communicated with him by slipping notes under doors. In fact, many of the neighbours were unaware the Rogers even had a son living with them. Then, on the 23rd of June 1965, after Edwina's nephew became concerned that she wasn't answering his calls, the police were sent to the house to check on the family. At first, there didn't seem anything wrong, apart from the house being empty, but when police searched the kitchen and opened the refrigerator, they discovered several cuts of unwrapped meat stacked on the shelves. Then, through the glass of the vegetable bin at the bottom of the fridge, 2 severed human heads could be seen. They were the heads of Fred and Edwina, and the meat on the shelves, initially thought to be pork, was in fact the dismembered body parts of the couple. Further investigations uncovered the couple's internal organs in a nearby sewer, suggesting they had been flushed down the toilet. The autopsy showed Fred had been killed with a claw hammer and Edwina had been beaten and shot in the head. Yet there was very little blood in the house, apart from a small amount in Charles's bedroom, and no one heard a gunshot or a commotion in the area. Charles was missing and immediately became the main suspect, but he was never found and was declared dead in 1975, 10 years after the murder. Over the years, there has been lots of speculation over Charles's involvement, and lots of theories have been brought forward. It's thought Fred was a cruel, abusive father, and both parents had stolen large sums of money from their son. It's also been claimed Charles worked for the CIA and was involved in the assassination of JFK, a claim documented in the book The Man on the Grassy Knoll. Others have dismissed these claims, although it is thought Charles did have dealings with the CIA and had powerful friends who helped him flee to Mexico after killing his parents, where he lived a free man until he was allegedly killed in an argument over money. However, all of these are just theories, but it seems strange that a 43-year-old man with his own money was still living with his parents when apparently their relationship was not the best. And to just disappear before his parents are found chopped up in the fridge with no blood, traces or evidence left in the house just doesn't add up. I think there is a lot more to this unsolved murder than meets the eye. What's your theories? So that's 5 possible unsolved murders. You know, these videos really do impact me in a big way and make me realise that these things could happen to any of us. Seriously, take a moment to enjoy what you're doing and be present in the moment. Appreciate what and who you have, because once it's gone, you will realise how lucky you were. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week for another video.